I, 28F, and my boyfriend, 30, who we'll call Steve, have been together for 2 years and have been living together for 8 months. I was cleaning our apartment when I found a note in the back of a cabinet. For context's sake, I'll copy it below. Dear Steve's future girlfriend, I know it's you reading this because he'd never clean back here. I'm putting this here because I'm leaving him soon and want to warn you about him. 1. He will not clean. 2. He will not listen. 3. He will make everything feel like it's your fault. It's not your fault. He's just an incompetent man. I'm leaving him. I suggest you do the same. Best wishes, Natalia. Name changed. I read the note and brought it to show to him and hear his response. He immediately ripped it up and said not to listen to it, that she was crazy and untrustworthy. I told him that the fact that he hasn't found it in the 5 years since they broke up is a red flag to me because it does mean he's never cleaned back there and that he has been cleaning less and less since I moved in. He told me that it wasn't a problem before the note. This is just his ex continuing to manipulate and ruin his life and I was letting it work. We continued to argue along the same lines and I eventually left to spend the night at a friend's place. Steve has been a great boyfriend so far. He gets along with my family. He has given me gifts and flowers and always tells me how much he loves me. He's not wrong that the cleaning hasn't really been brought up before. The note made me realize it had been less and less and that we needed to have a full conversation. He texted me afterwards saying he's sorry that I felt like I had to leave but that it's an asshole move for me to take a note over our 2-year relationship and to leave him and our pets alone. I don't know what to do or what to believe right now. I'm contemplating trying to find and reach out to Natalia. Her name in real life is pretty unique so I think I could find her. Steve thinks I should come back home and let it go, that his past should affect our future. I feel like I could be the asshole because everything Steve has said about Natalia does make it sound like she was manipulative and petty throughout their relationship, but I don't know what to trust. Edit. I realized I didn't clarify enough about the points, especially the cleaning. Thought I'd add it here. When we moved in together 8 months ago, the cleaning was 50-50. Since then, he's been doing things less and less and I'd say it's at like 70-30. Maybe 60-40 if he listens to me right away. It depends on the week. I have to remind him to do things like bring his plates to the sink or take out the trash and I didn't have to before. The dishes will pile up unless I do them, to the point he said leftover food mold on the plates. I'm not a confrontational person so I was just asking him to fix it when it came up. The note made me reflect on it more and try to have an actual full conversation, and I will say I didn't feel listened to when I talked to him about it. I tried to use the note to start a conversation about cleaning and he got so stuck on that I was listening to his ex instead of him, that he wouldn't listen to what I think are valid concerns. He thinks I'm letting the note have confirmation bias so no matter what he says I'll think he's in the wrong. Also, I didn't leave him permanently. This all happened yesterday and I only spent one night at a friend's because I didn't feel like our conversation was going anywhere last night and he wouldn't let me sleep until I let it go. I'm going back today and wanted to get advice and feedback before I do. Edit 2. I appreciate all these comments with advice. I'm heading back to our place now. My plan is to first apologize for immediately bringing him the note without thinking of his feelings and validate that it's hard to have an ex's message found. That being said, you're alright that I've been letting the cleaning stuff get away. I don't want to be in a relationship where I have to ask him repeatedly to clean. It was pointed out to me that he should have cleaned the shelves during his move from his ex's place. The fact that it hasn't been touched in 5 years is forcing me to take the not seriously. I don't want to throw away 2 years so I'm going to ask him to come up with some clear cleaning expectations with me and designated chores. I will make it clear that cleaning is absolutely a deal breaker for me. It's his decision on how he wants to respond. Update 1. I followed your advice from the last post and tried to have a calm discussion with Steve. When I apologized for confronting him with the note, he seemed to take that as an admission of guilt and refused to listen to anything else. I had come up with a list of specific instances of not cleaning like many of you suggested, and he said I was using lists just like his manipulative ex did. So yeah, the crazy ex thing you all said was a red flag was definitely true. When I realized the conversation wasn't going anywhere, he even tried to block me from leaving. That's when I knew it was done and left immediately. 2 years down the drain, but I'm glad I had the wake-up call before it was too late. I will let him cool off and then we'll ask my brother to come with me to grab my things while he's not there. He has a strict work schedule so I think it'll work out. I am planning on leaving a note there, but probably a little longer with the advice to not show it to him. I'm leaving it in the exact same place, so if he doesn't learn his lesson about cleaning, it'll come to haunt him. All he has to do is clean. The biggest surprise out of all of this is that I didn't reach out to Natalia, she reached out to me. Apparently he borrowed his friend's phone to call her screaming that she's ruining his life still. The fact that she blocked him and he had her number memorized just further confirms he was the crazy ex, not her. Natalia found me on social media and wanted to make sure I was okay and was especially concerned that he'd gaslight me like he tried with her. I thanked her for leaving me the note and saving me time. We scheduled coffee for Thursday afternoon. I wanted to thank you all again for the advice, especially the person who posted the Love is Respect website. I took the healthy relationship quiz after our conversation and it wasn't great. You called out how he was weaning me into an unhealthy relationship so well. For now, my friend said I can stay until I find a new place. I have emergency savings and a decent job, so I'm in a privileged place when it comes to this messy breakup. Update 2. I like to do things right away. It was definitely a mistake to bring him the note right away, but doing the things I did this morning right away was not a mistake as it allowed me to save my pets. First, I want to respond to the comments saying I broke up a 2-year relationship over a note and chores. No, I broke up a 2-year relationship because when I tried to come up with solutions to an unequal situation, his response was to yell and try to convince me there was no problem except me. The final straw was when he physically blocked me from leaving the house after he was screaming at me. That is not okay, and no one should stay with a man who responds to conflict like that. The actual update: I wound up texting the post to Natalia last night and she thought it was great. She, like some of you, asked me about the pets. For context, one of the things Steve and I connected on was our love for little creatures. It's why I thought he was such a great guy, because if he could take such intricate care of his lizard, he could do the same with me. I was very wrong. He has one lizard he bought before me, and then we bought 2 frogs together. I have a snake I brought with me when I moved in. I was planning on waiting until he cooled down to go grab my things and the frogs and snake, thinking he would never hurt them, but Natalia changed my mind. She said he could get destructive when he's mad and was concerned about the safety of my little guys. I immediately knew I couldn't wait until later this week and reached out for a meeting with a landlord for early this morning. I wound up FaceTiming with Natalia last night and we had a long discussion. Natalia is a lawyer and told me that in our state, landlords are required to let me get out of the lease I signed in cases of domestic violence. She also told me that his yelling, gaslighting, and refusing to let me leave are all types of abuse. It's definitely hard for me to sit with that, but the Love is Respect relationship quiz helped me also realize that a bit more last night. Apparently his constant messaging and control over what I wore and when were signs of abuse too. Anyway, this morning Natalia volunteered to come talk to the landlord with me alongside my brother. As soon as he heard the word lawyer, he was on top of it and said I could break the lease, but would still have to pay for all of August even though I'm leaving 3 days early. I felt like that was fair. He also messaged Steve to say the apartment needed to be empty for emergency maintenance all day today so I could pack my things. Steve messaged back that he was at work all day and wouldn't be home until 6 p.m. When I got into the apartment, it was a mess. He had broken my dishes that I had brought with me on the ground and left the shards laying about. My clothes were ripped up and scattered around our room. It was disgusting and heartbreaking. He left his lizard alone, but opened the tank doors for our frogs and my snake. Luckily the frogs were still chilling in their enclosure, but my snake had gotten loose. This made me the most mad, as she could have gotten cut on the broken plates. I feel so fortunate that she was just hiding in the closet corner and I was able to pack her up safely in her enclosure again. All my things are packed and I'm writing this as my brother drives me back to my friend's house right now. Natalia told me that she actually left 3 notes, one in the cabinet, one on the underside of the vacuum, and one in the crumb catcher of the toaster. While we were there, we checked to see if the notes were still there. The one on the vacuum was, but it looks like Steve did clean out the crumb catcher at least once in the past 5 years. He never told me he had already found a note in our conversations, so it caught me by surprise. Natalia and I left the vacuum note as is and replaced the cabinet one. I wasn't comfortable leaving my name on a new note, so my addition was a handout on healthy versus unhealthy relationships and a QR code to the quiz that woke me up. I'll put it in the comments. I'm not sure if I can have an outside link. Natalia said if he didn't find the notes in those 5 years, especially after the move, he probably won't find them again. I'm inclined to agree, especially given he did find one but then didn't even clean the rest of the house to see if there was any more. Steve doesn't make sense to me, and seeing the state of the apartment really woke me up to the fact that I have no idea who he is. The Steve I knew would never put animals in danger, but I don't think I really ever knew Steve. To the people saying it's pathetic that I broke up my relationship because of chores and Reddit, I encourage you to reflect on the subtle ways that abuse starts. This Reddit thread woke me up to it and gave me the resources to get out safely before it got any worse. I also made an appointment for a therapist. I'm very lucky that my job is good insurance, so I should be able to work through this relationship, and I'm hoping to focus on boundaries and my people-pleasing habits so I never find myself in this situation again. To the people wishing that Natalia and I would get together, we had a good laugh about it. Natalia is engaged to a wonderful man who cleans, listens, and reflects. She said there's a phenomenon that when people break up with their awful ex, their soulmate can quickly follow. I'm hoping that's true. Regardless, I do think I got a good friend out of this, especially since Natalia is a snake mom too. This is my final update. I hope if you learn anything from my experience, it's that abuse doesn't start right away. Now on to second story. Boyfriend lied about his new co-host being his ex-fling, and now our friends say I'm overreacting for feeling uncomfortable. My boyfriend, let's call him Isaac, has his own podcast. It's finally starting to blow up a little. Due to privacy and me quite literally being on a few of the episodes, I'm not naming the talk show/podcast. He also has a YouTube that's recently gained quite a following. He's nowhere near famous, but he's finally starting to be recognized. I used to be the main co-host, but I've been too busy with work lately to be overly active on the show. Obviously, you can't have a podcast with one person. That's kind of boring. So Isaac told me he found someone to have as a more constant co-host when I'm not available. I told him that was great and asked him who it was. He told me her name was Abigail and sent me her Instagram. It didn't seem like he was hiding anything, so everything felt fine. But about a week later, we were having dinner with our friend group when Isaac's best friend, Josh, told me in front of everyone that he was surprised about how cool I was with Isaac working with his ex-fling. Let's say my reaction was the complete opposite of cool. I was more upset that Isaac lied to me than anything. Why would he feel the need to lie about something like that? I like to consider myself pretty laid back about these kinds of things. Would I have felt awkward? Yes. But the show is recorded in the apartment that me and Isaac share, and I seriously don't see him cheating on me. We're really serious and have been talking about marriage lately. But the fact that he lied? It's the only red flag he's really shown me, but I just feel really weird about it. When we got home, I made him talk to me about it. About a year before he met me, he met Abigail and had a friends with benefits relationship with her. Apparently he ended things with her because he wanted something more serious, something with labels, and she didn't. Once again, not that disturbing or weird. But he still lied to me. And the way that his best friend said it was almost in awe, like the idea was unbelievable, making me think there's more to the story. I told Isaac I don't feel comfortable with him and Abigail because if he felt the need to lie to me about working with an ex-fling, it's probably not the best idea. He said he really needed someone who could be a constant co-host on the show if I couldn't, and I said he would just have to find someone else because I was not comfortable with this. I told him maybe I would have been if he didn't lie, but he lost that chance. I kept going far enough to say if he kept talking to her I might have to reconsider our relationship. He eventually agreed, but he's been giving me the silent treatment for the last couple days. Our friend group knows what happened, due to the mid-dinner announcement. It's split 50-50, some of my friends think I should cut him some slack and he didn't mean to lie. They're saying Isaac is a good guy who just didn't want to hurt my feelings, but I have a really bad feeling about this. Now I'm worried I really did overreact. Other things like this have happened before, now that I really think about it. But so many of our friends are saying I'm overreacting over a small mistake, and I think they might be right. Now that I think about it, small things like this have happened in the past. But the thing is, I love Isaac. I'm willing to keep trying for him. I just can't get the sick feeling out of my stomach. The friends on my side think I should continue to talk to him about this, but I don't even know what to say at this point. Update 1. I was diagnosed with severe anxiety when I was 10 years old. I spent all morning pacing and had a minor anxiety attack before talking to him. Normally things like this make me burst into tears, no matter how major or minor. But I'm proud to say I held my ground. He brought me coffee this morning, something he almost always does. He's been talking to me more now, but there's still this weird distance between us. He brought me coffee, kissed my forehead, and we ate breakfast together. He told me about work and everything felt so perfect, but I knew deep down it wasn't. That this nagging feeling would never go away if I didn't talk about Abigail. So in the most uncouth way possible, I blurted out, "We need to talk." Isaac tensed and finally nodded, surprising me by saying, "We do." 1 point to anxiety. We talked for around 2 hours. I'm going to summarize our conversation. The first thing I asked was how long they've been in contact. He told me that the way they met was from being in the same psychology class in college and being in a study group. This added up. I know that he's still close with that old study group. Some of the guys in that group are his best friends. Josh being one of them. He told me they've stayed in contact through that group chat, but haven't talked one-on-one until recently. The second thing I asked was why the hell didn't he tell me? I teared up a little asking him, and he immediately started profusely apologizing. I told him that it hurt to hear it from Josh and not him. He said, and I quote, "I didn't think it was a big deal. I know it's stupid, but I just didn't think about it." He told me that they aren't the best of friends and she just seemed like a good replacement for me until I could be more active again. I asked why he wanted her and why she was the first thought, and he explained how he wanted to do more topics revolving around college life/classes and study tactics, and she would be a good person to do that with since she was a part of his life during that stage. He told me that he loves me and he never meant to hurt me. He admitted that he knew it might make me uncomfortable, so he chose not to tell me because he knows how much I tend to spiral due to my anxiety. I got frustrated and told him that wasn't his choice to make. He agreed with me and told me he was sorry and he won't do it again. He added that Abigail will never have to come on the podcast, and he never wants to purposefully make me uncomfortable. I agreed, saying I didn't want her on the podcast. Then the tables turned a little. I thought this was going so great, we were in agreement and everything seemed fine. I had a little bit of closure and he seemed content. But then he asked me something I couldn't have guessed. "There's something else. She sent me nudes." What the fuck? I felt my heart break a little and asked how he responded. He showed me the messages. They were 2 fucking days old. He responded with a single message, "I'm flattered, but I have a girlfriend." Yet he didn't block her. I demanded he cut contact with her and he argued, saying it would make it awkward for his friend group. I argued that I was his fucking girlfriend and yeah, the situation was awkward. I asked him how he would react if Josh sent me nudes, and they got to him. He admitted that he'd cut him off and expect me to do the same. He nodded and agreed to block her. I watched him block and delete her contact. I still didn't feel content. He saw those messages 2 days ago and didn't tell me. That was my breaking point. I basically said, maybe honesty isn't as important to you as it is to me, but if one of your friends sent me nudes I would tell you within minutes. I kept going and started crying, and he did too. He kept apologizing and saying that he hadn't brought it up to me because he felt like I was avoiding him and he wanted to wait until he knew I was ready to talk. Which felt like bullshit because he was giving me the silent treatment. I wasn't considering breaking up in my last post, but now? I don't know. I know this wasn't the update you guys wanted, and I promise there will be another one. I told him that I needed space, and I'm someone who's rare to set my boundaries until I'm really upset. He apologized and tried to hold me but I stepped back. I'm writing this from my best friend's place. I'm over at her house right now staying the night. I told Isaac we can talk again in a couple days, but right now I need to think things through. The thing is, he cried when I started talking about ending things. Isaac doesn't cry. The only time I've ever seen him cry in our entire 4-year-long relationship was when his mom died. He loves me, I know he does. But I feel so lied to. Maybe I'm overreacting but right now I just feel betrayed. I'm sorry and I know this wasn't the update you all wanted. But thank you to all of you. Update 2. A lot has happened, and I'm honestly not sure where to start, but I'll start with this. We broke up. I ended up contacting Abigail. Some comments thought it might be smart so I reached out to her over Instagram and asked for her side of the story. She had no idea who I was at first. She then seemed very surprised I was contacting her. She realized who I was from the little Isaac told her, but according to her, he said we started dating last month, not 4 years ago. This information really confused me, and I needed to know more. We met up for coffee and she filled me in that they've been hooking up every once in a while, in her words maybe once or twice every 6 months for years. She started crying and hugged me while she apologized, saying she had no idea I had been his girlfriend for so long. So apparently, their FWB relationship never ended and he had been cheating on me the entire time we had been together. She assured me they had been safe and I shouldn't have anything, but in all honesty, I kind of blanked out. I was with this man for 4 years. I don't blame her in the slightest. I think she wants to keep in contact, but right now it's too painful to talk to her. It's not her fault, it's purely Isaac's, but I just can't deal with anything that is remotely connected to him right now. I'm so confused on whether Josh knew this or not, but I feel like he wouldn't have said anything that night at dinner if he did. I'm so sorry this update took so long. I broke up with Isaac over text classy, I know, and told him my best friend would stop by to collect his things. I also bought our cat, and said that I'd like to keep her. He protested on the breakup, saying we could get couples therapy, but I said there was nothing that could fix 4 years of lying. Right now I'm living with my best friend and we're having some serious girl time. I'm in shreds, but I know that this was for the best and it would have hurt more to stay. Update 3. I wasn't even going to write this, but I thought it would be a slightly happier ending for some of you guys and in all honesty, for me. Josh ended up calling me last night. At first, I didn't answer in fear it was really Isaac trying to contact me through him, but after the third call I did. This guy sounded pissed. The first thing he said was, "Name, I am so fucking sorry." He didn't give me any room to speak before going on this tangent on what a shitty guy Isaac is and how he can't believe he was best friends with a guy like that for so long. He told me that he made a spontaneous stop by at my old apartment, something that wasn't unusual for him, and was confused when he realized I wasn't living there anymore. Isaac admitted to cheating on me, something Josh didn't know, but had suspected. You guys were right. He said that comment to warn me. Some things I've come to realize is Isaac was possessive. He wouldn't let me hang out with our male friends one-on-one. He was always lurking next to me. Josh told me he alerted our entire friend group of what Isaac did, and while 2 or 3 of the guys took Isaac's side, what the fuck, the rest felt terrible for me. They cut contact with Isaac and those couple guys. Josh told me that if I need anything, he would love for me to ask him, and he apologized again, saying he should have told me earlier when he thought he'd seen the signs, but he never would have assumed Isaac had been carrying this infidelity for so long.